Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating shift, both geopolitical and technological. We're looking at how Japan, the absolute undisputed king of precision hardware, is staring down an existential crisis in the age of AI. It's your classic story of a massive incumbent, desperately needing to reinvent itself, and honestly, the stakes could not be higher.
I mean, think about it. Japan is the country that literally defined the modern robotics era. From building those very first industrial robotic arms to completely mastering complex mechatronics, their original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs, basically set the global standard. But today, they're facing a massive high-stakes question. Can they take decades of hardcore mechanical expertise and translate it into AI, software, and data to win back their global crown? Let's jump into Section 1, Japan's fading robotics crown. The fall here has been pretty stark. The numbers are wild. Japan tumbled from being #1 in the world for manufacturing robot density back in 2009 all the way down to 5th place by 2024. Historically, Japanese robotics really thrived because they had this super strong domestic industrial base. But as their share of global manufacturing shrank, that domestic demand just faltered. Today, Japan's share of global industrial robot production has plummeted from 54% in 2015 down to just 29%. And the contrast gets even more startling when we look at where the industry is actually hitting: general-purpose, humanoid robots. Right now, Japan is filing around 1,100 humanoid patents a year. Well, that absolutely pales next to China's staggering 7,700 annual filings, and the US sits at over 1,500. So while a lot of Japanese firms are kind of stuck in the R&D phase, their competitors are already out there commercializing. Case in point, one Chinese company, Agibot, recently produced its 10,000th humanoid. It just highlights a really critical lag in this general-purpose race.
And honestly, it's wild that Japan is trailing here, especially considering a team from Japan literally built the world's very first full-scale humanoid, named Wabot 1, way back in the early 1970s. Yeah, Waseda University proved this could be done half a century ago, yet today, not a single Japanese company ranks among the top 10 humanoid suppliers. Crazy, right? Moving on to Section 2, the AI-driven market shift. $370 billion. Let that number sink in for a second. That is the projected value of the general-purpose robotics market by 2040. We are talking about an absolute explosion in demand that's going to fundamentally change how our society functions. This isn't just about factory lines anymore. It's becoming a desperate necessity driven by severe labor shortages all over the world, especially in Japan, actually, which is prompting a massive need for robots in areas like elder care, food service, and agriculture. Because while the traditional industrial robot market is stagnating at around 3% annual growth, the AI-driven general-purpose market is expected to completely explode from less than $1 billion today to that $370 billion mark. This massive divergence is exactly why Japan has to pivot right now. Their government is aiming to capture a 30% share of this new market, so roughly $111 billion. That right there is their $100 billion opportunity. All right, Section 3, OEMs embracing the software era. So, the crucial takeaway here is that perfecting hardware in a sterile lab simply isn't cutting it anymore. AI models are entirely constrained by the data they consume. Because of that, OEMs absolutely must deploy large fleets out into the messy, unstructured, real world. Think busy hospitals or chaotic logistics hubs. Why? Because that's how you gather the proprietary, high-quality, multimodal data you need to fine-tune specialized models. And ultimately, doing this allows companies to transition from just selling a single one-off machine to a highly lucrative robotics as a service, or RaaS model. This generates ongoing service revenue over the product's entire life cycle. It's a total game changer. Now, to orchestrate these massive fleets safely, Japanese OEMs have to completely abandon their fragmented machine-specific software. They desperately need unified, extensible software platforms. We're talking standardized APIs to let third-party developers easily jump in, robust over-the-air updates to instantly push new skills to the robots, fleet orchestration tools for mass monitoring, and, of course, a highly secure-by-design architecture to lock down all that sensitive data. Let's head into Section 4. Evolving the component supply chain. Okay, so the good news here, Japan already has a massive head start. They possess almost all the individual physical pieces required to build a humanoid from scratch. From advanced 6-axis force sensors to incredibly complex thermal and battery modules, their deep component supply chain is mature and totally ready to deliver highly reliable parts.
However, and this is a big however, the raw market for simple gears and motors is absolutely going to commoditize. The real profit? That lies in creating integrated subsystems. Take smart joints, for example. Instead of selling a gear and a motor separately, suppliers need to combine them with onboard compute, a position sensor, and a force sensor all in one sealed unit. Crucially, it needs built-in health monitoring software that actively analyzes temperature and vibration to predict its own failures before they cause costly downtime. That alone saves OEMs massive engineering headaches.
Similarly, instead of just selling raw sensors, suppliers need to step up and deliver what are called action stacks. You can think of this as pre-programmed, certifiable safety in a box. If a high-level AI tells the robot to gently grasp a delicate object, the action stack is the integrated hardware and software subsystem that guarantees that physical action actually happens perfectly. It executes the command in a closed loop right on the robot itself and creates a tamper-proof data log. This provides OEMs with a vital audit trail for both diagnostics and, importantly, liability protection.
Which brings us to Section 5, rewiring the business ecosystem. So Japan actually has a profound secret weapon here, a concept called suryawase. This is a deeply rooted cultural tradition of meticulous mutual adjustment and really frequent communication. And it's what makes Japanese companies such exceptional systems integrators. This is absolutely vital when you're trying to combine cutting-edge AI with incredibly complex mechanical hardware across a bunch of different partner companies. It helps ensure all those components work together seamlessly and drastically reduces collaboration friction. But on the flip side, they really have to combat their notoriously slow, risk-averse corporate structures. The ones that prioritize stability over dynamism. Japanese companies often tend to hoard cash rather than aggressively throwing capital at new, risky ventures. To bypass this bottleneck, Japanese hardware giants have got to start utilizing business sandboxes. These are basically protected, isolated environments where teams can test unproven concepts rapidly, completely free from the usual corporate bureaucracy. It's all about moving with the speed and agility of a tiny tech startup, but with the massive financial backing of a major corporation. Finally, Section 6, reclaiming the future of robotics. To survive this shift, and to actually solve the severe labor shortages hitting critical markets like elder care, Japan has to execute 4 non-negotiable pillars. First, they need to design robots for global deployment from day one. Second, they must aggressively recruit global physical AI talent. Third, they've got to forge public-private partnerships to share vital training data safely. And finally, they need to utilize regulatory sandboxes to pilot uncertified robots in the real world immediately. This lets them gather crucial data while actively shaping future safety standards. This quote really sums it up perfectly. The era of simply building a perfect, rigid machine in an isolated lab is completely over. The future of robotics, that's going to be won out in the field. Japan's pristine, traditional engineering now has to collide with the chaotic, continuous learning reality of artificial intelligence. Which leaves us with the ultimate $100 billion question, one you really have to ask yourself as you watch this market unfold. Will Japan's deep, historical hardware legacy and risk-averse corporate structure be the anchor that drags them down? Or will their unmatched mastery of precision engineering and systems integration be the unshakable foundation of their ultimate global comeback? Thanks so much for watching this explainer, and we'll see you next time as we continue to decode the forces shaping our future.